Merhaba Youtube. Ben Mustafa ÇETİNKAYA. 8 grup üyesiyle birlikte MIS 453 Social Media dersimiz için hem kendi gelişimimiz hem de sizlere yazılım öğretmeyi öğrenerek öğretmek adına bu konsepti belirlemiş bulunmaktayız. Bu süreçte herkese başarılar diliyoruz. Ee, Bugün size e, Udemy'de Dr. Angela Yu'nun 100 Days of Code e, bir Python Bootcamp'i var. Bunu örnek alarak size Python'ı öğretmeye çalışacağım. Ve ilk videomuzda kod öğrenmenin 12 kuralı. Bu PDF'i tekrar örnek aldığım Udemy kursundan Dr. Angela Yu'nun hazırlamış olduğu bir PDF. İçerikleri böyle yavaş yavaş hepsini anlata okuya daha doğrusu sizlere paylaşacağım. Contents'ten başlayalım. First, trick your brain with the 20 minutes rule. 2. Code for a purpose, have a project. 3. There is no perfect language to learn. 4. Understand what you are writing. 5. It's okay to not know. 6. Be a copycat. 7. Be accountable to someone, show your work. 8. Keep learning. 9. Play foosball. 10. Get a mentor, try pair programming. 11. Get into the habit of chunking. 12. Break someone else's code. First, trick your brain with 20 minutes rule. Learning to code is a bit like going to the gym. Even if you max out and spend a whole weekend at gym, you will not see a visible difference in your body. The more regularly you learn to code, the more likely it is you will start seeing your repeat coding muscles. The irony isn't lost on me. But the problem is, where do you find the time? Between working your full-time job, spending time with your family, and life admin, when are you supposed to sit down and practice this daily coding? While I was working as a doctor, I spent about 12 hours at the hospital, 1 hour communicating, and approximately 2 hours on general life-sustaining stuff, such as eating. So that left me with only 9 hours remaining in my day. Theoretically, 2 hours could be allocated to coding practice and 7 hours on sleep. But there is nothing more difficult than trying to convince your work-starved brain to sit down and learn when you could be watching Game of Thrones with a tube of ice cream. But then I found a trick. As humans, we have lots of inertia. This can be bad for us. I'm looking at you. 24 bucks set. However, we can also turn it to our advantage. I found that once I got started coding and making things, I got so absorbed into the project that I no longer cared about television, food, or sleep. There were quite a few weekends when I coded until sunrise. So how do we take advantage of this inertia? First, you must understand that task switching is very difficult. It requires a lot of motivation. If as soon as you get home, you slump on the sofa and switch on the TV, you have already lost that evening. This is because the amount of motivation required to test switch and do something not driven by evolution like eating or sleeping is a Herculean task. This is why the moment you enter the door and change to a new environment is the most surreal moment. If at this moment you tell yourself that you are just going to do 20 minutes of coding practice, you will most likely succeed and use your own inertia to end up learning for an hour or more. No brain will perceive a 20-minute task as a lot of effort and you end up tricking your brain to take advantage of your evening. The next step is to develop a habit. Research suggests that in order to develop a new habit, you have to carry out the task daily for a month. I have used this next trick for loads of different things. From exercising to coding, it invariably works like a charm. To preface these tricks, I want you to imagine a wall with 5 paintings hanging on it, 4 of which are perfectly aligned, perfectly horizontal, but one is crooked. Now really imagine it. Is there a part of you that wants to fix it? Now let's imagine a monthly calendar with boxes representing individual days. If you nurtured that new habit on a particular day, then you make a line through that day. If you continued your streak the next day, then you extend that line and so on and so forth. There is something about not breaking a continuous line that motivates most people to continue to develop a habit. As strange as it sounds, there are many times when I would have given up, but compelled to continue because of a long, continuous lie. 2. Code for a purpose. When I first started learning how to code, there were countless times when I picked it up, then gave up, again and again. This is a common story amongst self-taught coders. Looking back, after teaching so many students, I finally realize what's going on. A lot of beginners start learning to code by picking an arbitrary language and follow along with a bunch of tutorials, copying code line by line, sometimes writing code to work out prime numbers, other times to find all the even numbers. But you know what? I can find prime numbers a lot faster by googling. Skills that require a lot of time to hone, like programming, will eat into your pool of internal motivation, something from within that makes you forget to eat and sleep. I can honestly say that coding on my own project is one of the most enjoyable things I do. It combines logical thinking with creativity, and at the end, you will have made something. In most cases, something that the world has never seen, something that could make your life easier or more enjoyable, something that you could make lots of people's lives easier and more enjoyable. It's like making a crazy beautiful custom motorbike in your garage without needing the garage or spending a cent on the components. This is what motivates most people the creating part, the making part, so I urge you to start learning to code by following a tutorial that makes something anything. Of course, it's unlikely that at the beginning you will be able to code up Clash of Clans or League of Legends, but you will be able to make something interesting. It could be a dice game or a flashcard app. But as long at the end of the tutorial you will have made something you can use and play with, then you will be far more motivated to code to the end. During all our courses, we always tell our students to think up of a simple app that they want to make, something that uses the skills that they have learned during the course, but will also stretch them a little because they have to find out how to include some new functionality. We had a student who went on to make an app that wakes them up a minute earlier every day to ease the transition to an earlier waking time. There is a student who made a custom slideshow app as a Mother's Day present. Someone else made an app that is a timer for making perfect streaks based on its weight and thickness. There are no limits on your imagination. It will be difficult when you start working on your own app because there are no step-by-step instructions, but it will also bring about the biggest improvement in your coding ability. 3. There is no perfect language to learn. Whenever I do large talks, there will always be one person who asks me which programming language should I start learning first. There is this common perception that somewhere out there lies a perfect language for beginner programmers. Some argue it's Python, some says it's Swift, but I say they are all wrong. A programming language is simply a tool. It's no different from any other tool in your hardware box. If you want to hammer a nail, you should be using a hammer. If you want to fix your water pipes, you will probably need a spanner. Yes, it's possible to hammer in a nail using the sides of the spanner, and the same programming language can be used to solve different types of problems. The carpenter will tell you that his favorite tool is a hammer, and the plumber will say it's the spanner, but it still doesn't make it the best tool to fix things. A web developer will tell you that JavaScript is the best language to learn for a beginner. A statistician will advise you that you will be best served with the R programming language. But at the end of the day, all that matters is what you are trying to do with your tool. If you want to make iOS app, then learn Swift. If you want to make websites, you will need JavaScript. But the good news is the core programming concepts, loops, conditionals, functions, etc. They are all the same. The difference is mostly syntactical. In English, we have werewolves. In German, they have werewolf. Something. It is still the same. Short-ripping mammal that comes out during a full moon, it's just spelled differently. Printing to the console in Swift, for example, print hello werewolves. Printing to the console in Java, println we use. So decide on the task that you are trying to accomplish, then pick the best tool for that task. 4. Understand what you are writing. I have an issue. What the way that most programming tutorials are written. There are far too many tutorials where you see the "this is how you draw an owl" phenomenon. This is the example of that. This is the picture of that. It's almost as if the programmer had good intentions and started off by showing you how to do everything step by step, but then at some point he realizes that he has embarked on a Sisyphean task and gives up. I have seen tutorials where the author starts off with an excruciating level of detail that midway refers to now you simply set up a cloud database, bearing in mind that this is a tutorial aimed at beginners. This leads to a number of problems. The most common problem is a student who just copies the code in the tutorial and has no clue what any of it does. Why did he add that extra line after parsing the JSON? Why is he making this dictionary different from the last one? It's very easy to get knees deep in one of these types of tutorials because it promises to teach you how to build Flappy Bird on Candy Crush. But two-thirds of the way in, none of the things you are typing makes sense and you start seeing red all over the screen. Bugs. Loads of them. Why? No idea. Nothing runs. The last 3 hours were spent copying code, and you learned nothing other than maybe that coding sucks. Don't get into this trap. If you see a tutorial that has jumps from beginners to advanced after line 3 or uses the word simple to liberally or doesn't explain any of their code, then stop. Leave that tutorial. There is plenty of fish in the sea. Other times, the authors does try to explain what they are doing, but you still don't understand a thing that they are saying. Then you are in an advanced tutorial that won't improve your programming. It can be tempting to build grand things, especially when the blog is promising that anyone can make it. But if you can't work out what's going on, you are be better served by building a better foundation. This is the explain what I'm talking about. You are watching a tutorial and you are typing to understand this level, but your current level is competency in here. Uh, it's all about the time. You need time. If you want to improve your programming skills, you need time. Such as in here, the graph says to us that the key to learning code is all about ramping. You want to be scratched over and over again and for knowledge to be built on previous knowledge. If that ramp is too steep, you will get lost. If that ramp is too shallow, you will get bored. The right gradient is different for everyone. That's why we encourage students to use the speed change functionality liberally on our tutorials. This way you can listen at double speed if you are comfortable with the concepts and slow down to half speed if it's something unfamiliar and you need time to understand and absorb. 5. It's okay to not know. Software engineers are purportedly the profession that has the largest population of imposter syndrome suffers. Imposter syndrome is a psychological phenomenon where people feel like frauds and massively understand their own skills and abilities. Programmers tend to be self-critical and constantly feel that everyone else is better at programming than they. If you have ever felt this way, you are not alone, as studies shows that a massive 70% of people have imposter syndrome. I recently saw a post on the question and answer site Quora where somebody asked, would I get fired at Google or another big tech firm if I got caught using Stack Overflow as a reference? It got a bunch of really great answers from engineers working at Google, Amazon, and other major tech companies. Anybody who has worked as a software engineer will tell you that not looking at reference is far more frowned upon. In fact, I challenge you to find a single Google programming was has not used Stack Overflow. If you are not familiar, Stack Overflow is a collaborative question answer site for programmers. A lot of new programmers are afraid that by checking reference and asking people for help they will out themselves as a fraud who doesn't know the program. Nobody can hold all the relevant information in their head. For example, this is the name of an iOS method. This is the example. It's almost 400 characters. In iOS programming, there are over 800 classes and methods, and growing in web development, there is a new framework every week. No one will accept you to be able to remember the code. This is the reason why we are programmers. We can get the computers to the boring stuff. For us, for example, the code for recording sounds is only a short search away. Why would you need to memorize it? The skill that most employers look for when recruiting is the ability to think. Knowledge is valued in a world where information is hard to come by. In the 18s, only the rich had access to good books and good teachers. Now everyone has all the information they had and more at the tap of a mouse. Information is losing value. The ability to think is the stock to buy. So don't be afraid to search, to ask on Stack Overflow, or to find research to help you solve your issues. The best programmers do it. The skills you need to hone is in asking good questions and understanding the answer. There is no point copy-pasting code from a Stack Overflow answer if you have no clue how it works, because Stack Overflow works on a replicating system. It's in their interest to be as clear as possible in their answer in order to be marked as correct and collect upvotes. In most cases, it doesn't make sense to start searching Stack Overflow whenever you get stuck. The first option should always be trying to all out, figure it out yourself so your program doesn't do what you expected it to. But before I typed the last 3 lines of code, it was working fine. So let's figure out what in those last 3 lines broke my app. If you really can't figure it out, start with Google. Search for your query. Or if you have a bug, paste the error codes and the error message. Chances are that as a beginner, your programming woes will be very common, and somebody might have even taken the time to write a clear and concise tutorial to help you understand your bugs, and you grow more skilled in programming. The problems you will encounter get more and more obscure, but hopefully, if you follow the other 11 rules, you will also be more capable programmer and figure it out yourself or know exactly where to get help. The other reason why you should start with Google is that Stack Overflow search algorithm organizes questions and answers by recency and not popularity. A lot of the problems you will encounter while starting out will have been asked and answered years ago but still massively popular. So ask wisely and you will reap the benefits from the community. One day when you yourself become a codemaster, you will be giving back to that same community and helping the next generation of programmers. Be copycat. At the beginning of my coding journey, I thought that way to learn code was read a whole bunch of books. I bought books on C++, C Sharp, Java, and loads more, you name it. I had it, but they didn't do very much other than making me confused. I read, I highlighted, I forgot, I fell asleep. Books are good as reference. If you want to dive deep into delegates and protocols, read the chapter on that. But if you want to learn, make something. But you do, but what do you make? Lacking in ideas, be a copycat. Make your own notepad. Make your own MS Paint. Make your own piano. If you are into games, make Minesweeper, make Tetris, make Flappy Birds. Not only will they be short of useful, but they also be the perfect opportunity for you to figure out how to things and get experience in finding help. Something that is brand new to the world like holographic some smartphones projections no one will be able to help you with. By making copycat apps programs you will treading in the paths that many have walked before you. This way you maximize that the changes that someone will be able to offer you help and advice when you get stuck. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel.